Imagine beginning each day with a personal message of peace, one that reminds you that you are not walking through life alone. In a world overflowing with pressure, noise, and uncertainty, silence has become rare, and stillness even rarer. But what if, in those silent spaces, there was a voice calling you toward calm, toward clarity, toward hope? That is the Heartbeat of Jesus Calling by Sarah Young, a devotional journey built around one central promise. Peace is not found by controlling life, but by learning to rest in the presence of God. This book is designed not just to be read, but to be experienced. It invites readers to slow down, breathe deeply, and tune into the still, gentle reassurance that faith provides. Instead of long doctrinal teachings, each day offers short meditations that challenge the reader to listen, trust, and shift their focus from fear to faith, from worry to worship, from anxiety to awareness of divine presence. Today, we're going to walk through this journey month by month. 12 chapters representing 12 seasons of faith. Each month carries a unique message, a spiritual tone, and a theme that shapes how we grow. So settle in, open your heart, and let's begin the journey. Chapter 1, January, beginning with trust and surrender. January lays the foundation for the entire spiritual journey by calling us into an intimate relationship built on trust. It begins by reminding us that change begins not when life becomes easier, but when the heart becomes willing. The message of this month asks us to release the constant urge to control every moment and instead open our hands to God's leading. January teaches that surrender is not about weakness or loss. It is about trading anxiety for peace, fear for faith, and pressure for presence. The heart of this month lies in learning to stop striving long enough to listen. We often rush through life believing that productivity equals progress, but spiritually, progress comes through stillness, through allowing God to reshape our thinking, calm our worries, and guide our decisions. Throughout January, the emphasis is on daily dependence. Instead of letting thoughts spin into fear or stress about the future, we are encouraged to stay rooted in the present moment. Peace comes when we stop rehearsing possible disasters and start trusting that God already knows the path ahead. When we release our grip on what we cannot control, we discover strength that is far beyond our own. January also addresses the weight of uncertainty. When life feels unpredictable, when change feels overwhelming, this month calls us to remember that divine guidance does not come all at once. It comes step by step, just enough light for the next moment, not the entire road. And that is intentional. Faith grows when we walk forward without having every answer. Ultimately, January asks us to begin the year with open hands, open minds, and open hearts, ready to be transformed from the inside out. Trust becomes the soil where peace grows. Chapter 2, February, learning to walk by faith, not by fear. February builds upon January's foundation by shifting the focus from surrender to action, living faith out one step at a time. This month highlights the struggle many people face. Instead of living in the present, the mind leaps into the future, worrying about what might happen and anticipating outcomes that have not yet occurred. February reveals that most of our suffering is not caused by our real circumstances, but by imagined ones. Fear thrives in future thinking. Anxiety multiplies when we mentally live in tomorrow instead of today. The month teaches that peace is found when we stay rooted in the current moment, trusting that God provides strength one day at a time. This chapter encourages the practice of returning the mind to the present whenever it wanders into worry. It reminds us that when we try to predict or control outcomes, we not only exhaust ourselves, but block the peace available to us. Faith is not about eliminating uncertainty. It is about refusing to let uncertainty dictate our lives. February also challenges the belief that weakness disqualifies us from spiritual growth. Instead, it reframes weakness as the very place where divine strength appears most powerfully. When we stop pretending to be unbreakable, we discover we are unshakable. not because of our strength, but because of God's presence. The call of February is to slow down, breathe deeply, and take life one step, one prayer, one moment at a time. Trust is built through repetition, through choosing faith again and again until it becomes instinct. Chapter 3. March. Choosing peace over pressure. March invites us to experience peace not as a fleeting feeling, but as a lifestyle. It opens with the recognition that the world constantly pushes us toward pressure. More goals, more expectations, more urgency, more comparison. But spiritual peace is not earned through achievement. It is received through surrender. This chapter teaches that peace comes when we release the idea that everything depends on us. Many people carry invisible burdens, the burden to fix everything, to please everyone, to stay strong at all times. But March challenges this belief by reminding us that we were never meant to carry the full weight of life alone. Instead of fighting through stress with sheer willpower, March encourages stepping back and breathing in silence. It emphasizes the practice of pausing during chaos, choosing reflection instead of reaction, prayer instead of panic. The deepest peace comes not when problems disappear, but when we know we do not face them alone. March also highlights the importance of perspective. Problems can feel enormous when we focus only on them, but they shrink when viewed from a spiritual angle. When we fix our eyes on God instead of our worries, challenges lose their power to dominate our minds. Peace becomes an anchor that steadies us against every wave. This month reminds us that choosing peace is an act of courage. It is not passive or weak, it is intentional strength. Chapter 4. April. Rising above circumstances. April explores resilience, the ability to stand strong not because life is easy, but because our foundation is secure. It teaches that hardships and interruptions are not signs of abandonment, but invitations to grow. Instead of asking why trials come, April asks us to look for purpose within them. This month reframes adversity as a refining fire. When everything is comfortable, we often stop growing. But when challenges press against us, faith deepens. Strength expands. Character forms. God uses struggle not to break us, but to build something stronger inside us. April reminds us that life will always present moments that feel overwhelming, disappointing, or confusing. But these are the moments where trust becomes real. Faith is not measured by how loudly we worship in success, but how steadily we stand in difficulty. April encourages us to see setbacks not as punishments, but as preparation. Every mountain becomes climbable when we remember we do not climb alone. Chapter 5. May. Gratitude as a pathway to joy. May teaches that gratitude is one of the most powerful spiritual tools we possess. It is easy to be thankful when life is good, but the deeper transformation happens when we choose gratitude, even in difficulty. This month emphasizes that gratitude shifts perspective. When we focus only on problems, they grow. When we focus on blessings, even small ones, hope expands, anxiety shrinks, and peace enters. Gratitude turns our attention from what is missing to what is present. May calls us to open our eyes to the everyday miracles around us. The warmth of sunlight, the comfort of a friend, the quiet gift of breath, moments of laughter, unexpected provision, strength and weakness. Gratitude trains the heart to see goodness even in ordinary days. The chapter also reveals that thankfulness is a powerful weapon against discouragement. Where gratitude lives, bitterness cannot stay. Where gratitude grows, joy increases. May teaches us to practice gratitude not once, but daily, until it becomes a natural reflex, a way of seeing the world differently. Chapter 6. June. Learning to depend on God completely. June returns to the theme of dependence, but deepens it into maturity. It challenges the belief that strength comes from self-reliance and independence. Instead, it presents a new definition of strength, trusting someone stronger than ourselves. This month acknowledges that life often pushes us into situations where our abilities fall short. moments when we cannot fix, change, or control what is happening. Rather than panic or force solutions, June calls us to lean into God's presence and power. Dependence is not a sign of failure. It is the birthplace of spiritual freedom. When we surrender the pressure to manage everything alone, we experience peace. When we acknowledge our limits, we invite divine strength to fill the spaces we cannot. June reminds us that God walks ahead of us, beside us, and within us. We are never abandoned. Even when the road is dark or steep, we are carried by hands that do not tremble. True strength is discovered not through resistance, but through reliance. The message of June is simple but life-changing. Let go of the illusion of control and discover the security of divine support. Chapter 7, July. Staying close through every season. July centers on intimacy with God, learning to walk closely through both calm days and storm-filled ones. This chapter emphasizes consistency, the idea that spiritual closeness is not built by dramatic moments alone, but through steady, daily connection. July invites us to move beyond a relationship driven only by crisis and into a rhythm of companionship and communion. It teaches that peace and confidence grow when we spend time intentionally nurturing our spiritual life. Instead of reaching out only when life falls apart, July calls us to develop a lifestyle of continual awareness, speaking honestly, listening in silence, and cultivating stillness. One key message of this month is that distractions are the greatest enemy of intimacy. Our world demands constant attention, and noise becomes normal. July challenges us to protect time for silence, to treat spiritual connection as essential rather than optional. The more consistently we return to quiet connection, the more deeply we experience strength and clarity. July also reminds us that closeness is a choice. We do not drift into spiritual growth, we commit to it. And when we choose to walk closely with God, we discover companionship that steadies us in every season, whether joyful or painful, peaceful or chaotic. Chapter 8, August, Strength Through Surrender. August returns to the theme of surrender, but with greater depth and challenge. It pushes us further into releasing our need to control outcomes and instead trusting God's plan, especially when life feels uncertain. This month emphasizes that surrender is not passive. It is a powerful act of faith. Instead of resisting what we cannot change, August encourages us to yield and to believe that purpose exists even when understanding does not. Surrender does not mean giving up. It means handing over the burden we were never created to carry. August invites readers to see surrender as the gateway to supernatural strength. When we cling tightly to our own plans, stress increases and peace disappears. But when we release control, we experience freedom. What once felt heavy becomes lighter, not because circumstances change immediately, but because our posture does. The message is simple. Peace flows when trust replaces control. Freedom begins where surrender begins. Chapter 9, September, Trusting Even Without Answers. September explores the experience of waiting, a season many of us resist. It acknowledges the emotional weight of delayed answers, unanswered prayers, and uncertainty about the future. Instead of interpreting waiting as silence or rejection, September reframes it as preparation. This chapter teaches that growth often happens beneath the surface long before change becomes visible. Just like seeds planted in the soil, transformation develops quietly, hidden from view. Waiting teaches patience, stretches faith, and strengthens character. Rather than rushing to solutions or forcing outcomes, September encourages leaning into trust. It reminds us that God's timing is never late and always purposeful. When nothing seems to be happening, something is happening. We just cannot see it yet. Waiting becomes sacred when we stop demanding answers and instead ask for endurance. September assures us that trust built in silence becomes unshakable. Chapter 10, October, Finding Light in the Darkness. October speaks directly to seasons of struggle, periods of grief, disappointment, confusion, and emotional heaviness. It acknowledges that faith does not erase pain, but brings strength within it. This month teaches that God's presence is closest when life feels heaviest. Instead of urging us to hide our wounds or pretend to be strong, October encourages honesty and vulnerability. It reminds us that brokenness is not a sign of failure, but a doorway for deep transformation. October also emphasizes that the darkest moments often reveal the brightest light. Courage is found not in never falling, but in rising again. Hope is most powerful when circumstances look hopeless. Faith is proven not in comfort, but in adversity. This chapter invites us to trust that we are held, supported, and guided, even when we cannot feel it. Darkness becomes bearable when we remember we are not alone. Chapter 11, November, Living with Thankfulness and Contentment. November shifts the focus back to gratitude, but with an emphasis on contentment, learning to appreciate what we have instead of longing endlessly for more. This month teaches that peace grows when we stop comparing our lives to others and stop chasing what we think will complete us. Contentment emerges when we recognize that real richness is measured not by possessions, achievements, or status, but by presence, connection, purpose, and spiritual depth. November encourages slowing down, simplifying, and savoring what is already here. When we practice gratitude regularly, life begins to feel fuller, relationships become deeper, and worry loses its grip. The message is clear. Joy begins not when circumstances change, but when perspective does. Chapter 12, December, Celebrating Hope and Renewal. December concludes the journey with a focus on hope, redemption, and new beginnings. It reflects on the meaning of spiritual renewal and the significance of divine presence in every season of life. This month acknowledges the busyness, pressure, and emotional intensity that often accompany the final month of the year. In contrast, December calls us back to stillness, wonder, reflection, and gratitude. It teaches that renewal is always possible, no matter how the year unfolded, no matter what was lost or broken. Every ending contains the seed of a new beginning, and hope does not wait for perfect circumstances. It is available now. December invites us to look back with gratitude and forward with expectation. It reminds us that peace is not a moment, but a lifestyle, that faith is not theoretical, but deeply personal, and that God walks with us into every season ahead. Over the course of these 12 months, Jesus' calling guides readers on a transformative spiritual journey, one shaped by trust, surrender, gratitude, and peace. It teaches that faith is not about escaping difficulty, but about finding strength within it. It invites us to slow down, listen, and draw near to God's presence in every season of life. The message of this book is simple, yet life-changing. Peace begins when we stop trying to carry everything alone and instead place our lives in hands far stronger than our own. If we walk forward with trust, step by step, day by day, we discover that we are never alone, never forgotten, and always loved. And that is the call of this devotional, to live each day with open hands, open hearts, and unshakable faith that God is with us, now and always.